Well, now here we're looking at the Confederate right after they moved. We're seeing this massive, massive outflanking. They've been able to slip around the creek here and catch Lynch. I left his flank dangling there. Horrible, horrible situation. He's hit from the rear. This is reminding me of back when I first was playing TSS. And we'd see this kind of stuff with troops swinging around and catching each other like this. But it's tough with this scenario because I wanted to defend this line with the gully, but I should have stretched Lynch out a little bit more. I packed him in too close there. You can always, justify it by saying he was expecting these commanders to pull up and defend the flank. And, this is definitely a more extreme circumstance. In fact, it was so extreme that Lynch would have been here and could have been captured. I allowed him to withdraw because I think the rules are a little too harsh on a leader. I just don't buy that, hey, he wouldn't be able to get out of the way, given that you can retreat before melee, etc. What I am going to allow, though, is a withdrawal fire check on him, which is to say... we can take a pot shot at him if we wish, and we do. That's on the 8 table. This is just making up rules as I go, right? That's not going to do anything. It would have to be a casualty check to actually succeed on the leader, I guess. And I remember some game had that, and I think that's a fair representation for it. Elsewhere, well, we're charging the gun from behind here now. We gotta withstand fire from these, and we'll see how that all works out. And we shifted the troops from here over to the center to try to punch a hole in this way, while we shifted, who's this, Tappan's division over this way to try to catch the gully from the other side, and just really try to wreck the Union front. Well, somewhat mixed results. The big gun's back here. This is just a 3-inch rifle, but this here is a Parrott gun. We're able to drive away the main Confederate threat and even kind of get some pins or whatever back here. They prevented a lot of the damage that could have come about from that outflank. Now, there's still ugly situations because getting out of there is going to be painful if I can't commit some other force to move up. I gotta watch because I'm 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got a... oh no, these guys are triggered. Who's this? Hill. He's awake. Moore has a 4 marker on him now. And we have some auto events here. Oh, Shaw back here got picked off, and one of his units went flying back. Just some sniping going back and forth. There were actually a couple of rifle units. The Confederates are about 50-50 rifle musket, kind of like at Gettysburg. The Union, of course, are all rifle, pretty much. There is a Confederate shotgun unit. But yeah, these guys are kind of screened from each other. A little bit of plinking going on here maybe, but not a lot going on. You can see the Confederate artillery shifted up to present a more dangerous threat to the Union up here. They may want to fall back from this position just as a safety precaution, really. It's nice to hold the wood line, but it doesn't really help you if the Confederates are going to be pounding you with artillery throughout that. It might be a little unpleasant. Let's see what we've got here. A is going to be the brigade release, and B is going to be all the leaders and supply wagons are active for the Union. Okay, let's see what the release is. Just to start with, I guess we roll a die. We get a 5 on turn 3. That's Benedict. Well, Benedict's released, and he's not got an asterisk, which would have released McMillan instead if he'd gotten a little higher roll. But McMillan's troops are still kind of out of it here, and we still have this big gap here that the Confederates are going to try to take advantage of, but I think the Union's going to see if they can seal it up a little bit. Let's see what happens. Just because people like to catch me on things I just rolled both of these. Neither one activated. I got a 3 over there and a 1 here. This remains even if the Confederates move out of the way. You know, there's still someday they're going to wake up, right? Now, it's going to happen automatically at some point. At the end of the turn, we'll get Shaw back, but right now he's out of command, which causes some problems. Hell, I want to... Stepping back to the Confederate side, I want to do an assault back here. These two units, especially this out of ammo unit, hitting the back of Lynch's command. Now Lynch is going to try to get out of there, which means he undergoes another enfilade fire. That's on the 6 chart, or no, 3, 6, 12 chart with a shift for enfilade. He's got problems. He takes a hit there, and that's I mean, there's no way I want to leave that in place. And that's another shot for Lynch. Now, he's got a morale of 3. I believe this game is one where the brigade, where the getting shot with an enfilade gives you a penalty. I don't care. I'm going to impose it anyway. And that's enough to rout him, so he has to get out of there. And now he's got some problems. Because you see, if he retreats here, he causes some withdrawal fire. But I think he has to retreat there. I think the retreat rules are such in this game. Yeah. Union retreats always south, southeast, or northeast. Yeah, well, which way is east? Now I have to think north, east. So he can go any of these 3 hexes. This is the only legitimate one. So he's going to A, possibly rout that unit, which he doesn't. But he's also going to draw some fire. And that's another 6 points of gun at him. That doesn't affect him. 2, 3 is legitimate. And we'll take Lynch with us. Alright. Yeah, because otherwise the Union was going to try to get out of there. Now the Union's going to swing this thing around. That means he takes more fire again for a facing change. But, you know, you got to do what you can. Actually, I forgot to do something, which is the Confederates had to enter this hex that they were attacking. So now they're actually in Lynch's field of fire, so he doesn't have to do that shift anywhere near as badly. We'll see. He might do it, but it's pretty heavy fire to take. 6-point fire. All right. Sorry for all these stop and starts. Well, as we end turn 3 and move into turn 4, this is gone. We see 1, 2, 3. He can't command his whole force from there. Whoops. These counters are very, very slippery. It's the gloss, among other things. Put him over there because he can command both there. We see Lynch getting his command kind of back into place in terms of rallying it. And we see we've driven most of the Confederates back again with their artillery fire, with shots on some of their routing units, just sending them, kicking them back. So this is not working out as well for the Confederates as you might have thought from that dramatic outflank. You know, when you do something like that, you're exposing your own flank just as much. Now, if you can, you know, get those melees in, you get to spin around after that, and charging the guns would have allowed the Confederates to set up a nice perimeter that actually would have been kind of decent looking, but because they got blown back with some of their units, some of the units were just left lying out there isolated, and they got knocked back. And that whole Confederate attack is looking really ugly at this point, basically. Alright, so the Confederates are beginning to punch their way through the center here. I chose not to make a melee there, but I made melees here, an attempt up here, which pushed this unit away without casualties. We're seeing Shaw's command kind of getting knocked away in this whole center area in the woods, just falling apart. Pulled the artillery up and unlimbered it. It can't do much at that range, but I'm afraid to get it closer. I've got B's Cav trying to screen it just to keep the Union from being able to charge up and just take those guns. Leaving guns alone is just risky. I'm kind of worried about these, but you'd have to run a long way through some ugly situations and really kind of give up a brigade to try to take those, and that's probably too much to try to take out the attackers' guns. Defensive guns, it might be worth it. And we see over here the Confederates are, maintaining this little position over here, but there's still this danger with these guns, and they just keep trying to bring more units in to hold, so that they can't just get smashed. We're going to see what comes of the Union turn, because some units are going to be able to come into play. These guys, maybe these guys. These guys are getting close. Oh, they're not in no line of sight. They don't get to see. Ouch. Yeah. And this turn, well, we get a random roll. It could be anyone, really. All right. Bad news for the Confederacy here. To begin with, I don't think the rules specify, and I'm not going to bother to look, the order in which you do the activation rolls. I did the brigade release table first, and then the other activation rolls, figuring that would help maintain the surprise act. I think things are going to be tough for the Confederates anyhow. And they were historically, actually. The Union recovered from the initial surprise fairly well. So it ended up very bad for the Confederates. First of all, McMillan, I rolled Benedict with an asterisk, which released the McMillan forces down here. So that center is going to get stiffened up. We also see Dwight here got activated, as did Moore. That's pretty much everything that I could get came in. In fact, it is everything I could get. I don't know when these others are going to come in. I'm assuming we'll start seeing them. C, all Confederate reserves. No, that's not going to help. D, any of the following at 5 victory points each. So I could throw more units in at a cost. I'm not sure what that's supposed to represent. Maybe I really don't know what that's supposed to represent. In a simulation type sense, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, he'll get off the pot quicker. In terms of gameplay, yeah, trading the victory points for that's maybe a cute mechanic, but I don't really like it. Anyway, I probably won't charge any of those unless I absolutely need them. You kind of figure, well, maybe they're abandoning their equipment or something, or they didn't get their breakfast and they're going to grumble. But then on F, at 620, we get everything for free out of that bunch, and then there's a couple more that come in at a cost because they're fatigued. All right. Well, let's see what the Union does. As we move up to the 540 turn, that's going to release these units, and that's a big deal. Anyway, the Union stabilized their line. They pulled things up on Pleasant Hill and drove away most of the Confederates. They were just routing back up into the woods there. Over here, there's still a kind of a breach between the two lines. One of the units that tried to run in there is no longer routed. I don't know, somehow it's harder for me to see with these counters whether they're upside down or not when there's something over them. Anyway, they had almost pieced it together, but one of the units went running back. Over here, Dwight is pushing, and this is why these are key. Dwight's pushing his forces forward, threatening the flank there. Now, the artillery chased him back, but he did manage to scare away some of B's units, and with what's going on over here, I'd say the Union line looks pretty damn solid right now. I may have to pull back and just be on the defensive as that starts to come down. But I am not seeing much more opportunity for the Confederates to really wreak havoc. And the Union Army is significantly bigger. So it's going to be tough. Now, granted, there are units that are, resting right now that I could call in for that extra 5 victory points. Or later in the game, there becomes the opportunity to pull some of the really rearward forces, if need be. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. It looks like the Union's holding up pretty strongly. And one of the risks with this system is pushing your units too hard. You start to see these are just ammo down here, but like Lynch for the Union, he's getting close to Brigade Bagby. I may want to pull him out, because that's 6 victory points if I get them shattered, you know? And that's always one of the questions in the game. You gotta hold off and not just press and press and press. Certainly Terrible Swift Sword, you have the same effect when you're playing with the Brigade Effectiveness. Where, damn, you know, it's just not worth, and the gamer stuff, it's just not worth pressing the attack anymore because you're taking too much damage. But on the other hand, if you don't press the attack, you can't do damage to your opponent. And you've got to kind of try to balance it out. The one thing is, you can pull the weakened units that are going to cost you off the line. But the Confederates just don't have that many units. And the Union kind of doesn't, because the other units are, you know, they cost to bring in, right? At least eventually. I can't do it at all right now. Alright, well, I'm going to load this one up. And, yeah, we're kind of making our way through. We'll see how this goes.